So how do we glorify God? Great question. Here's number one. Transformed people, those are the folks that have come and asked Jesus Christ to forgive them. Transformed people now they resist moral decay. You are the salt of the earth. Salt in Jesus' time, it's not that it was never used for flavoring, but it was primarily used as a preservative. Meaning, folks, they didn't have any refrigerator, so if they're going to have some fish or beef or whatever they've got, they're going to have to salt it. So salt is understood as this is a preservative. It keeps the moral decay away. And my people, Jesus says, you're going to be that preservative for the world. Let me give you an example, because Christians kind of have a bad reputation right now in world history, but it has not always been so. And I want to show you one of the reasons why is because Christians have consistently improved society. As moral decay happens, they've consistently stepped up and they said, this isn't right, I'm not comfortable with this, this isn't what should be happening. You might have heard of William Wilberforce. In 1785, he became a Christian. He'd been raised in wealth and money, but he became a Christian. And as he became a Christian, he began to see the slave trade. And he said, this is not right. And so he joined an abolitionist movement. And he spent the rest of his life petitioning and trying to get bills signed and trying to come against the idea that humans should be sold and used by one another. Now check it out. Guys, for all of history before that, no one really seemed to have a problem with slavery. Slavery was everywhere, all over the world. And yet a Christian, because of his confidence in Jesus and is looking at the real image, saying, this isn't what God would do. This is what Jesus wants. And so he spent the rest of his life right up until just before he died, and that's when the abolition, you can look it up, the Abolitionist Act or something, finally they were free, slaves were free in the UK. But not only that, because of his work, the entire British Navy spent, 52 years policing the Atlantic, finding folks who were slave trading, arresting them, and freeing those slaves. And over that 52 years, they freed 150,000 slaves. And they did it at their own expense. They were just like, we did something wrong, we need to do something right. And there was also a compounding effect as that affected other nations. And they said, wow, this is wrong. And it was because a Christian said, I need to preserve, this is moral decay. I need to step in and we need to make this right. We need to turn this back to the way God wants it to be. Do you see your lineage? Do you see where you come from? Do you see the kind of people you are? So it's not time to be quiet right now. Now, you do it with gentleness and you do it with respect, but we speak up and we say, that's just really not the way of God. God doesn't want it to go that way. He wants it to go this way, and we start with us. And when we do that, we begin to leave a Jesus-y taste in people's mouths. That's what he wants. That's how he wants us to be the salt of the earth. He wants people to be around us and they go, wow, you're just different. There's something different about you. I'll tell you, some of the most impactful people in my life, it's not that they were super obedient. It's not that they were like, wow, you just really obey better than anybody else. Now, in many cases, they did obey, but it was coming from somewhere else. It was coming from, they were just big-hearted. They just loved God. They just had passion. They were the folks that were generous. They were the folks that when you walk in the room, they make you feel like the room is about you. They're always into your thing. They're always wanting to know how they can help you. Those are the kinds of people that as I began to meet them in my life, I was like, doggone, I taste something, and I don't taste it anywhere else, and I want it. Do you see? Jesus wants us to live life in such a way that people get a sense of what God is like, and they start to say, I want it. I want that. I don't understand. And they might have to watch you for 10 years at work, but they're still like, this always tastes different though, man. They're doing something different. I don't know what it is. One of the things that they're doing is they're recognizing that a disciple without saltiness is worthless. I didn't say it, Jesus did. But if the salt has become tasteless, how will it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. That doesn't mean that Jesus doesn't value that person. He just says, you're super unhelpful to what the kingdom is actually trying to do. If you're not salty, you're not helping. You're just kind of standing there. Or maybe you're hiding like Nicodemus. But you're so diluted, and I don't mean diluted like you're delusional. I mean you're diluted like you're too mixed. You're so mixed with the world that nobody can taste any difference around you. And so it's not helping me. Now, we don't all have to be at the same level, but Jesus wants the crowd of our hearts. What did he say? He said, you are the salt of the world. See, he's not saying like the Pharisees, why don't you come up and finally get your act together? He says, look, you're already this. I just need you to behave like it. I already made you this. Now begin to cooperate with me and stay salty. Slap your neighbors, tell them, stay salty. And they do it differently than the Pharisees did it. They do it differently than the Pharisees did because the Pharisees loved God's law. They put it first. And salty kingdom bringers, they also love God's law, but they include grace. They make grace the primary operating system, and they say, yes, we do love this law because it informs us now. It's not how we understand ourselves, it informs us how we love so that we can do it according to God's ways. And what that looks like, my friend, is there's going to be, as you know, there's people in your life, and they're sinning in different ways than you are. And you're a little bit like, I don't know if I should be around that. What you should do is you don't need to embrace that sin, but you need to stay warm. You need to stay inviting. You need to remember that that acceptance is where the conversation begins. You need to be the salt of Jesus' love and affection around them. As we get into the next couple weeks and people are talking about their political ideas and aims, you can stay chill. You can say, hey, I love you no matter what you think about anything. And I think a lot of different people understand different things about different things. But I just want you to know, I'm going to explain my case. I'll make my case maybe like William Wilberforce, but I like you just the way you are. And your real life is more than this life. And your real life isn't decided in the next 2 weeks.